You didn't click on this video by accident. I get it, something feels off. Maybe she's gone quiet, no texts, no calls. But here's the strange part, she hasn't blocked you. Your pictures are still up. You still catch her online. Present but distant. And now your head's spinning. Is she done with you? Or is she waiting for you to make the first move? This is the mental torture so many men go through, stuck in limbo between hope and reality. And in that silence, most men drown. Overthinking, guessing, losing themselves trying to decode someone else's emotional puzzles. You want peace. You want answers. But more than anything, you want to protect your self-respect. That's exactly why this video exists. To bring clarity when your mind's clouded. To help you stop chasing shadows and start standing in your power again. If this message helps you, support the channel. Because every like, comment, and share helps another man who's also stuck in the dark. You're not alone, and by being here you're helping build something bigger than you. A space where men reclaim their strength. Let's rise together. Understanding her silence isn't always goodbye. It's easy to panic when the calls stop. When your phone goes quiet and her name doesn't light up the screen anymore. That silence, it hits different. And for most men, the mind jumps straight to one conclusion. She's done. She's moved on. It's over. But not so fast. That instinct? It's fear talking. It's the uncertainty screaming louder than logic ever could. Because silence isn't always rejection. Sometimes silence is her way of watching from a distance. Not because she's gone, but because she's paying attention. She wants to see who you are without the safety net of her affection. Without the rhythm of her good mornings and late-night check-ins. And make no mistake, her silence isn't empty. It's loaded. With emotion. With strategy. With questions she's too afraid to ask aloud. Does she still care? Maybe. Does she still think of you? Probably. But pride is louder than love for some. So she steps back, not to vanish but to see what you'll do next. Will you chase? Will you wait? Or will you disappear too? That silence becomes her answer sheet. And here's the truth, when someone truly wants you gone, they don't just go quiet. They slam the door. They block you. Erase you. Cut every thread that ties your world to theirs. But if she hasn't? If the pictures are still there, if she hasn't blocked your number or stopped you from seeing her stories, then maybe she's not done. Maybe she's just waiting, watching, wondering. Silence isn't always goodbye. Sometimes, it's the space between two people trying to decide who makes the next move. What if she posted a quote about heartbreak? Or shared a throwback that pulled you straight into a memory only the two of you would understand? That's not random. That's not forgetfulness, that's intentional, quietly strategic. She's not speaking, but she's signaling. It's like she's leaving digital breadcrumbs, subtle clues that say, I'm still feeling this, without ever sending a message. These aren't cries for attention. They're emotional footprints. Not a plea for you to chase, but a chance for you to notice. Because her silence? It's not a shut door. It might be her way of asking, can you read between the quiet? She's not texting, but she's still talking. Just in her own language. A language written in pauses, space, and stillness. And maybe, just maybe, she's not walking away. She's watching. Wondering who you are without her constant presence. What you'll do when the comfort of her attention disappears. Some women go quiet to protect their heart. Others do it to see yours more clearly. But make no mistake, silence is communication. It's not the absence of emotion, it's the shape it takes when words feel too risky. And your job? Is not to spiral. Not to chase recklessly or beg for answers. Your job is to listen to the quiet. To feel the mirror her silence is holding up. Because in that reflection you'll see your own patterns. Your need for validation. Your fear of being unseen. And right there, in that discomfort, is your invitation to grow. Not just for her but for you. Because the man who stays grounded when everything feels uncertain, the man who doesn't lose himself when she pulls away, that man becomes someone far more powerful. He becomes undeniable. And whether she returns or not, that kind of man never loses. Strategic silence versus true rejection. And why knowing the difference saves you. Not all silence is created equal. Some silence is a goodbye wrapped in silence. It's cold, absolute, and speaks with finality. It's not confusion, it's closure. But then, there's the other kind. The kind that lingers, that watches, that waits. This isn't just silence, it's strategy. And if you don't know how to tell the difference, you could sabotage yourself, chasing what's gone, or worse, crumbling under a test you were never meant to fail. When a woman really ends things, you'll know. She erases you with precision, blocks your number, deletes the photos, scrubs your name from her life like it was never there. She closes the book, no bookmarks left, no room for questions. That's rejection. It's sharp. It's final. It's meant to leave no room for misinterpretation. But strategic silence? That's a whole different language. She didn't block you. She didn't erase you. You're still watching her stories, and she's still watching yours. She might like your post at 2 a.m. or share a quote that hits a little too close to home. And yet, not a single word. That's not forgetfulness. That's a move. A calculated one. This is emotional chess, not checkers. She's not cutting you out, she's studying you. She's stepping back to see how you respond when the warmth is gone. Will you panic? Start typing out essays she never asked for? Will you beg to be let back into something she hasn't even officially ended? Or will you hold the line? Will you remain composed, grounded, unshaken? Because that's the real test. This kind of silence isn't passive, it's pressure. And pressure doesn't just reveal your feelings. It reveals your discipline. She's not looking for noise. She's watching for your presence. Will you collapse in her absence? Or will you become the man who doesn't need her attention to validate his worth? That's the power play. And how you handle it says everything. Whether she realizes it or not, she's creating space, not just physical but emotional. And that space, it's deliberate. A silence that doesn't scream, but whispers loud enough to keep you thinking. It leaves you in limbo. You start overanalyzing everything. Does she miss me? Has she moved on? Is this the end or something else? And if you're not grounded, that uncertainty can send you into a spiral. But this isn't a test of love. It's a test of your center, of your composure, of your ability to hold still in the storm. She's not watching what you say. She's watching how you behave when the noise disappears. Do you chase? Do you beg for reassurance? Or do you stand steady, calm, unfazed by the emotional static? Because here's the catch. If she wanted out, really out, she would have slammed the door shut. But she didn't. She left it cracked open. And that changes everything. Most men think that that open door is their green light. It's not, it's bait. And when you rush through it too fast, trying to make sense of the silence, you reveal something crucial. That you're led by need, not presence. So what do? You acknowledge the door. But you don't run through it. You notice the signs, but you don't chase them like a man starving for closure. You hold your frame. You stay in motion, building, living, becoming. Not for her attention, but because your life demands it. Because that's how you flip the script. You turn her silence into your strength. You make uncertainty your training ground. And the man who can hold his own when things feel emotionally unclear, he becomes unforgettable. Not because he chased, but because when she pulled away, he didn't flinch. The psychology behind the waiting game. When a woman goes quiet after a breakup or drifts away emotionally, it's not always out of spite or cold-heartedness. More often, that silence is rooted in something deeper. Fear, confusion, and a need to feel in control when everything inside her feels vulnerable. What looks like a game from the outside might be her only way to cope. To protect the softest parts of herself from more pain. And as men, we have to stop judging the silence and start understanding it. Because once you do, everything changes. You stop reacting. You start choosing. Connection is wired into all of us. But so is the fear of rejection. We long to be wanted, but we dread finding out we're not. That fear multiplies after a fight, after things go cold, or when the ending isn't clear. She may still care. She might be replaying memories and wondering about you every day. But the idea of hearing that you've moved on, or worse that you've stopped caring, keeps her frozen. So what does she do? She speaks without speaking. She posts a quote that hits like it came straight from her heart. She watches your stories silently. She lets a moody song say what she can't. None of it is accidental. These are her quiet signals. Emotional smoke signals meant to stay in your orbit, without putting her heart fully on the line. She's caught in a silent tug of war. One side wants to reach out, to call, to reconnect. The other side is scared of looking too eager, of being rejected. Because if she texts and you don't answer the way she hopes, that pain might cut deeper than the silence she's chosen. So she stays in the gray. Not speaking but not gone. Dropping breadcrumbs of presence, hoping you still feel her there, without forcing herself to be fully seen. That tug of war happening inside her? It's not a tactic, it's survival. She's trying to protect her heart while still holding on to the tiniest thread of connection, even if it's silent, even if it's unclear. That's why so many women leave behind emotional fingerprints, little signs that say, "I'm still here," without actually having to say it. A story view. A quote that feels personal. She's not reaching out, but she's not letting go either. It's not a game, it's a defense. A soft barrier between what she feels and what she fears. Not because she wants power over you, but because she's terrified of feeling unwanted again. As a man, once you truly grasp this, everything shifts. You stop playing detective. You stop trying to decode every silence like it's a trap. You stop reacting from emotion and start responding with presence. Because now you see her for what she is, conflicted, not cruel. You gain insight, you step out of neediness, you rise into calm. And the most powerful moment? It's when you stop asking, "Why is she doing this?" and start asking, "Who do I choose to be right now?" That's where the transformation begins. Where you stop giving away your peace to someone else's uncertainty and start reclaiming your power, not over her but over yourself. Over your mind, your choices, your emotional balance. You become the kind of man who no longer needs clarity from others, because he already carries it within. This is what real emotional intelligence looks like. It's not just staying calm, it's being aware. You see the emotional current she's caught in, the distance, the hesitation, and you refuse to be dragged into reaction. You don't chase, you don't punish, you don't fake indifference. Instead, you watch, you understand, and you respond, not from pressure but from peace. Because this isn't about who reaches out first. It's about who holds their ground, who keeps their self-respect intact, who shows up with presence, not panic. And the man who can walk through this emotional fog without losing his inner compass? That man doesn't just leave an impression, he becomes unforgettable. Not because he begged to be remembered, but because he didn't need her to feel whole in the first place. This is the Stoic edge. And here's what not to do. This is where most men, even the strong ones, lose control. She pulls back, she goes quiet. And suddenly, it hits, that sinking fear. The silence feels like a verdict. She's done, you blew it. Fix it now. So they cave, they reach out, too soon, too intense, too emotional. They dissect every text, every glance, every pause, trying to decode what went wrong. They write long, heavy messages, trying to reconnect, trying to explain, trying to fix what hasn't even been confirmed as broken. And in the process, they unravel, they lose the very thing that drew her in, emotional stability. What separates a Stoic man from the rest isn't that he feels less, it's that he responds better. He feels the sting, the silence, the confusion. But he doesn't let it write his story. He doesn't reach for quick relief. He reaches for clarity, for stillness. He doesn't chase closure from someone unwilling to offer it. Because he understands something most never learn. Silence is an answer. And that answer is simple: wait, watch, and reflect. A grounded man doesn't fire off paragraphs hoping for a reply. He doesn't spill his heart just to fill the silence. He doesn't twist himself into a version he thinks she wants, because he understands this. Chasing someone with emotional desperation doesn't prove your worth, it erases it. He knows that real value never has to scream to be seen. It's felt, in his presence, in his calm, in the way he continues to move with purpose. See, modern conditioning teaches men a lie. If she answers, she still cares. If she doesn't, you've failed. But a man rooted in true discipline knows better. Her response, or lack of it, is not the scoreboard. His worth isn't up for negotiation based on her reply. That he doesn't let someone else's silence become noise in his mind. He doesn't absorb her uncertainty as his own. Because the real test isn't whether she reaches out, it's how you hold yourself when she doesn't. How you respond when the room goes quiet. That reveals everything. If you cave in, if you chase, if you explain what was never asked, you're handing her your peace on a silver platter. And worse, you're saying her silence has more control over your emotions than you do. But when you stay steady, when you don't flinch, when you keep your pace, live your life and grow through the silence, you show strength no words could ever match. Not loud strength. Quiet, undeniable strength. The kind that doesn't need attention to exist. The kind that doesn't chase clarity, it radiates it. That's what makes her take notice. that stillness, that resolve, that quiet confidence she can feel, even from miles away. Because the truth is, people watch closely in silence. They watch what you do when nothing is said. And when she realizes you didn't fall apart, that you didn't chase validation, that you simply stood tall and kept becoming, that's when your silence becomes louder than any message you could have sent. That's when the energy shifts, not because you tried to control it, but because you earned it. She stepped back to see what you were made of. And you showed her, without flinching, that your strength runs deeper than her absence ever could. That you don't need constant reassurance to stay rooted. That even when everything around you feels unstable, you're not. And that, more than anything, is what sets a powerful man apart in a world drowning in noise and need. Now here's what most men overlook. Sometimes she's still emotionally tied to you, even when she goes quiet. Silence doesn't always mean she's gone. In fact, some of the most honest emotions show up when a woman says nothing at all. But only if you know how to see it. Not by chasing, not by decoding, just by noticing, by staying still long enough to feel what's hidden. Because when a woman is truly done, she disappears completely. No story views. No likes. No presence online or off. She vanishes without a trace. But if there's still a flicker of feeling, it shows. Not loudly, but it shows. It starts small. She watches your story. Not every time. Not instantly. But she's there, quietly, consistently, just enough for you to notice. Her name always near the top. That's not an accident. It's not just the algorithm working its magic. It's her, checking in from a distance. Not because she's sure, but because she feels. She wants to see where you are. Who you're becoming without her. What kind of man you are when she's no longer in the room. And then you catch something else. She likes a post. One from weeks ago. Maybe even months. One that meant something. A photo of you in motion, traveling, a quote about growth or strength. A picture where you looked at peace. That one like. It's not random. It's a whisper. A subtle nudge that says, I'm still watching. No words, no explanations, just presence. She won't say it outright. But if you pay attention, you'll feel it. She's making her presence felt, but only in whispers. And then it starts, the indirect signals. A post on her page about lost love. One about someone who was worth holding on to. Another about the ache of distance. You recognize the undertones. Maybe it's a lyric from a song you used to fall asleep to together. Maybe it's a quote from that late-night movie you both loved. Or a caption that mirrors the last words you exchanged before the silence began. None of it is coincidence. Women don't always communicate through direct dialogue. They speak in visuals, in mood, in emotional hints dropped like breadcrumbs. So when she posts something sorrowful, it's not for aesthetic. It's a reflection of what she's holding inside. She may not have the courage to send that message. She might not be ready to reach out and reopen that door. But that quote, that lyric, that old memory dressed up as nostalgia, it's a quiet confession. A signal that part of her still feels the weight of what you shared. But understand this clearly, she's not doing it to be obvious. She's doing it to stay safe. Because the power of these messages is in how indirect they are. They let her release emotion without exposing herself to rejection. She wants you to notice but not confront her. She wants to be felt, not questioned. It's closeness, without conversation. It's emotional nearness without risk. So what do you do with these signs? You see them. You acknowledge them privately. But you don't chase. And you definitely don't double text. You don't reply with a vague lyric or drop a mysterious quote hoping she'll notice. You don't play the game. You simply recognize what's happening. She's not over you, not fully. But she's not coming back either. She's stuck somewhere in between. And that space, that emotional limbo, that's where most men unravel. Because they try to fix it, fill it, force clarity. But your job isn't to fix her silence. It's to respect it. To read between the lines without demanding translation. Let her silence say what she's not ready to put into words. Let her distance reveal the truth, on her terms. And let your response be grounded, calm, unshaken. Because when you can recognize the signals and still stay balanced, you're not just displaying self-control, you're radiating worth. You're not begging for attention. You're tuned into energy, not ego. And that kind of awareness, it sticks with people. It's rare, it's felt, it's remembered. You don't stand out because you chased. You stand out because you stayed steady. Because in the quiet, character is exposed. Silence strips away the noise, the quick comforts, the illusion of control. When she pulls away, it's like your world stutters. You check your phone more than you'd like to admit. Hoping, wondering, looking for her name, her words, any sign she's still connected. But all you get is silence. And that's when it hits you. This isn't about her anymore. This is your mirror. Who are you when she's not texting back? Who are you when no one's affirming your worth, cheering you on, or guiding your next step? That's the moment that defines the man you're becoming. Do you crumble in the silence? Let the absence become your identity? Or do you rise? Not just despite the silence, but because of it? Do you let this space transform you? Because the man who learns to remain still, grounded, and unshaken in the face of uncertainty, that man leaves a lasting impression. That man becomes unforgettable. He doesn't break when the world pulls away. He doesn't crumble in the absence of applause. He doesn't beg someone to return just to feel complete, because he understands that his worth isn't up for negotiation. It doesn't rise or fall depending on who stays or who goes. It's rooted, built into his being. And if she ever truly saw your value, if even a small part of her still feels your presence, then your silence will say more than any message ever could. It'll echo not because you tried to spark a reaction, but because you didn't have to. That quiet strength, the calm in your eyes, the way you kept moving, that's what speaks. And if she's watching, and let's be honest, she probably is, it'll hit her. Not out of manipulation, but because you stood still in a world begging you to chase. You chose presence over pretense, stability over spectacle. But what if she never comes back? What if this really is the end? That's where most men lose themselves. They don't hold on to her, they hold on to the feeling of not being enough. They don't want her as much as they fear what it means to lose her. But here's the truth, if she never returns, you still win. If you let this moment shape you, if you choose to rise through the fire, what you gain can never be taken from you. The quiet confidence built when no one notices. The self-control you forge when no one sees. The strength you shape when your only witness is the man in the mirror. That's the kind of man who no longer needs to chase anything, because he's already become everything. That's the kind of man women don't just remember, they feel. The one who didn't beg, didn't break, didn't shrink just because she went silent. He became stronger in the silence, not louder, not needier, just clearer, more grounded. And that stays with her, not out of manipulation, but because strength like that leaves a mark. So stop watching her next move. Watch your own. This is your moment. You can relive the same story or you can rewrite it. You can replay old habits or rebuild a new identity. And here's what most men miss. The version of you that rises in silence? That version belongs to you forever. No one can steal it, not her, not time, not distance. Because you earned it. Earned through long nights with no closure. Earned through quiet mornings where you held your doubt in one hand and your discipline in the other. Earned in all the moments no one saw. That's where your strength was built. Not when she was watching, but when she wasn't. You don't need her to respond. You don't need her to make sense of it. You don't need her voice to write your next chapter. What you need is clarity. What you need is courage. What you need is belief. Belief that who you are becoming now is far more powerful than anything you thought you lost. Because once you've tasted your own strength, there's no going back. You won't beg again. You won't chase again. You'll walk forward, not because you erased her, but because you remembered yourself. She made her move, silence. Your move isn't emotional. Your move is character. Every man watching this is at a fork in the road. Chase what's unclear, or build what's unshakable. Choose the second path. The higher one, become the man she regrets losing, or better yet, the man who stopped waiting for women who didn't know what they wanted. If you watched all the way through, drop a comment below. Unstoppable. Let's see who's really built for this. Let's separate the noise from the ones doing the work. Support this channel. Because if this helped you today, imagine what it could do for the next man, the one who's lost, the one who's stuck, the one who's exactly where you were just moments ago. When you support this space, you're not just fueling content, you're helping build a movement, a brotherhood, one video at a time, one breakthrough at a time. You're not just changing your life, you're changing lives. Stay grounded, stay powerful.